kept her final illness secret from fans. She canceled shows without explanation. For 5 days after her death, no one knew she was gone. Now, her sister has come forward with shocking details about those last months. She's exposing what really happened behind closed doors. The truth about Cindy's medical treatment will leave you stunned. Hollywood knew something was wrong, but no one guessed how serious it was. The details will break your heart. Cindy Williams was born on August 22, 1947, in Van Nuys, Los Angeles. Her mother, Francesca, worked long shifts as a waitress, while her father, the Accard Bill Williams, had a job at an electronics company. Money was always tight. Cindy's childhood was shaped by struggle and movement. She was only one when the family moved to Dallas. Then, at 10, they returned to Los Angeles. These changes forced her to constantly start over, and that made her adaptable. It also taught her how to connect with people fast, something that would later help her in show business. She wasn't an only child. She had a close bond with her younger sister, Carol Ann, and a half-brother named Jim from her mom's first marriage. They lived in what some would call reduced circumstances. Cindy wore hand-me-downs and learned early how to make the most of very little. She had blue eyes, brown hair, and a sense of humor that helped her cope with her father's drinking. He could be unpredictable, but he also made her laugh by doing impressions of Jackie Gleason and Milton Berle. Those moments stuck with her. Comedy felt like safety. Church became her escape. At Sunday school, she felt protected from the chaos at home. She acted in little plays there and even dreamed that Debbie Reynolds might walk in and discover her. Cindy later said that performing made her feel powerful, even when life at home made her feel small. At school, she joined theater productions and impressed teachers with her timing and expressions. When she graduated from Birmingham High School in 1965, one of her classmates was Sally Field. Cindy wasn't just dreaming anymore. She was preparing. After high school, she studied theater at Los Angeles City College. It wasn't glamorous. She waitressed to survive, often working late shifts and auditioning during the day. She lived on 4 to 5 hours of sleep and kept a notebook where she tracked 157 failed auditions before she finally booked her first national commercial. Her big break didn't come overnight. For years, she lived in a tiny apartment in Hollywood for $175 a month, sometimes down to her last $20, but she never gave up. By 1969, things began to shift. She got noticed in a Foster Grant sunglasses commercial. Then came more ads, TWA Airlines, and others that paid the bills and got her face on TV. She had small roles in shows like Room 222 and Love American Style. But they were never leads. She was always the neighbor or the girlfriend. Still, every role meant one step forward. Then came the moment she never forgot. In 1970, while working on a variety show called The Funny Side, she had to dance with Gene Kelly. Nervous, she stepped on his foot mid-spin. He never let it show, finishing the number like a pro. Years later, they performed together again, and she stepped on his foot a second time. He just laughed and said, "Some things never change, kid." That kind of charm, messy, real, and a little awkward, became her signature. In 1971, she was accepted into the Actors Studio West. It was a huge honor, but her schedule was packed, and she couldn't attend regularly. Around this time, she started getting noticed by bigger names. In 1972, legendary director George Cukor saw her in a small play and cast her in Travels with My Aunt. Suddenly, she was on screen with Maggie Smith and working under a man who had helped shape stars like Katharine Hepburn. In 1973, her big break finally came when she was cast as Laurie Henderson in American Graffiti, George Lucas's low-budget film about teenagers in the 60s. The movie only cost $777,000 to make, but no one expected it to become a classic. Williams played Ron Howard's girlfriend, but it wasn't just acting for her. She later said she pulled straight from her real heartbreak. Her boyfriend had left her for someone else, telling her they should see other people. That pain gave her character real emotion, and it showed. The dance scene with Howard, where they smile for the crowd while arguing under their breath to smoke, gets in your eyes, became one of the most powerful moments in the film. Lucas even rewrote parts of the script to give her more depth. Unlike many of her co-stars, Williams already had experience. Just a year earlier, she had acted in Travels with My Aunt, directed by the legendary George Cukor. But American Graffiti was different. It earned her a BAFTA nomination in 1975 for Best Supporting Actress, an incredible honor for someone so early in her career. She didn't win. That went to Ingrid Bergman. But being nominated alongside such a legend meant the world. Williams had worked hard to get there. She'd gone from waitressing to starring in a film that launched careers. Ron Howard, Harrison Ford, Richard Dreyfuss, all future stars. The casting process had been wild. Over 100 unknown actors had tried out, including a young Mark Hamill. But it was producer Fred Roos, the same guy who worked on The Godfather, who believed in her. That belief paid off. Her bond with the American Graffiti cast went far beyond the film. She had natural chemistry with Ron Howard, and that led to something unexpected. In 1975, Howard had become Richie Cunningham on Happy Days. He got her a guest spot, and that one appearance changed her life. Paired with Penny Marshall, their chemistry lit up the screen. Gary Marshall saw it and immediately launched Laverne and Shirley. It became the #1 show in America. But Penny and Cindy weren't strangers. They'd met years before on another set and already shared a close friendship. American Graffiti also brought her in touch with Harrison Ford, who was still working as a carpenter at the time. Fred Roos convinced him to play the cool, rebellious Bob Falfa. Their paths would cross again in Coppola's next big film. That's right. Francis Ford Coppola saw Williams in American Graffiti and immediately cast her in The Conversation in 1974. This was during the same era he was creating The Godfather saga. In The Conversation, she acted alongside Gene Hackman, John Cazale, Terry Garr, and a young Harrison Ford. Robert Duvall even had an uncredited part. It was a film about paranoia and surveillance, and it won the top prize at the Cannes Film Festival. The film only cost $1.6 million, but went on to earn $4.8 million, with 3 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture. Williams later talked about the difference between Lucas and Coppola. Lucas was quiet and brief, often just saying, "terrific," after a take. Coppola, on the other hand, was full of energy, constantly praising his actors and asking for their input. Both directors changed her life in different ways, and yet something strange happened. After starring in Travels with My Aunt, American Graffiti, and The Conversation, 3 back-to-back critically acclaimed films, her career hit a wall. It didn't make sense. She was too recognizable to go back to waitressing, but somehow not getting the big film roles either. She started writing with Penny Marshall, just to stay busy. They were hired by Francis Ford Coppola's Zoetrow Productions, part of a small group of female writers brought in for just $30 a week. At the time, no one saw it as a big deal. They were just 2 women trying to make it in Hollywood. But something important happened. While they were writing together, they developed a strong creative bond. They figured out how to bounce ideas, how to punch up jokes, and without even realizing it, how to build the chemistry that would one day define their careers. Then, in late 1975, everything changed with a single phone call. They were working on a script when Gary Marshall, Penny's brother, and the creator of Happy Days, called out of the blue. He asked them to take a week off and play 2 girls going on a double date with Fonzie and Richie. Williams remembered laughing at how Gary described the characters as the girls who date the fleet. She joked, "Hookers, this will be fun." They didn't think much of it. It was just 1 episode, a quick paycheck, and a silly little role. So they said, "Sure." On November 11, 1975, they walked into Paramount Studios, not knowing they were about to change TV history. When the episode aired on January 27, 1976, viewers instantly fell in love with the two girls from Milwaukee. Williams played Shirley, the sweet one. Marshall played Laverne, the tough one. In the episode, Richie asks Fonzie for help after a breakup, and Fonzie calls up Laverne and Shirley for a double date. That was it, a simple setup, but audiences couldn't get enough. What started as a small gag turned into a breakout moment. Even Penny later said they were meant to be the girls who put out. But that version was quickly cleaned up once ABC saw the potential. Behind the scenes, the chemistry between them was electric. Everyone noticed. The crew, the live audience, the producers. Nobody could ignore it. There's even a funny blooper where you can spot Tom Bosley, who played Mr. Cunningham, standing behind a door waiting for his cue, completely visible through the window. But the spotlight was no longer on Richie or Fonzie. It had shifted. These two women had stolen the scene. Just 2 weeks later, they got another call, this time from Gary Marshall's office again. ABC executives had seen the episode. They didn't want more guest appearances. They wanted a whole show. Cindy and Penny didn't even know what a spin-off meant. They had to ask. All they knew was something big was happening. The connection between them was more than just acting. Williams said it felt like telepathy. They didn't need to rehearse much. They just knew what the other would do. Williams took her scripts seriously, always studying until the last moment. Marshall was the opposite. She barely looked at the script and still nailed it. She could smoke a cigarette, crack a joke, and be ready to roll. Somehow it worked. Their differences made their partnership stronger. And just because of her chemistry with Perry Marshall, she got into the next big project. On January 27, 1976, Laverne and Shirley hit TV screens. Within months, it exploded. By fall of that year, it did the impossible. It beat Happy Days in ratings. At its peak, more than 60 million people watched it every week. Cindy, who had been known from American Graffiti, became a household name. Her face was everywhere, in magazines, on lunchboxes, and in every living room. The opening chant, Schlemiel, Schlematzel, Hasenpfeffer, Incorporated, became part of playgrounds across America. By 1979, she was earning $30,000 per episode. That was massive money for any actress back then. She didn't just play Shirley Feeney, she built her. Cindy gave Shirley that nervous laugh. She spent weeks practicing it before they even filmed the first episode. She thought deeply about who Shirley was. She even kept personal journals as the character. It was Cindy's idea to give Shirley stuffed animals like Boo Boo Kitty and to wear prim, neat sweaters. That contrast with Laverne's tomboy look made the whole show pop. By 1979, women were walking into salons asking for the Shirley haircut. Cindy was getting over 1,500 fan letters every week. People didn't just like Shirley, they felt her. But behind the sweet smile and gentle voice was someone tough. Cindy performed almost all her own stunts. The physical comedy was no joke. In one 1978 episode, she had to wrestle bottles on a conveyor belt for 37 takes. She got 3 bruised ribs, but kept going. For the roller skating scenes in 1977, she did the splits on camera with no skating experience. She even got frostbite filming skiing scenes for hours in freezing cold. She trained with vaudeville performers before the show started. She and Penny Marshall once rehearsed a 3-minute routine for over 50 hours. Her fearless stunts earned her the nickname, the female Buster Keaton. In January 1978, her work got serious recognition. Cindy was nominated for a Golden Globe as Best Actress in a Comedy. She was up against legends like Carol Burnett and Jean Stapleton. She didn't win, but it changed everything. Now, people in the industry saw her as more than half of a duo. Studios offered her big deals, more money, starring roles, and creative control. She turned them all down. She stayed loyal to Laverne and Shirley. Her loyalty paid off in new ways. Her contract gave her more power than most actresses had in that era. But things started to fall apart. In 1980, the show moved from Milwaukee to California. The brewery jobs were gone. So was the magic. According to her lawsuit, Gary Marshall tried to push her out because of the pregnancy. She claimed the studio promised to accommodate her. They said they'd write it into the story, let her work safely until October, and pay her the full $75,000 per episode, plus $37,500 per rerun. But then, they backed out. Cindy felt betrayed. The deal was off, and she was forced into an impossible situation: her baby or her career. In August 1982, she filed a $20 million lawsuit against Paramount, half in general damages, half in punishment. Her husband supported her, but his presence also caused tension on set. Penny Marshall later admitted she didn't get along with Hudson, saying he made things harder. Everything came to a head fast. Cindy only appeared in 2 episodes of Season 8. Then Shirley vanished. No goodbye, no send-off. Just a note left behind saying she moved with her husband. Viewers were shocked. The show kept the name Laverne and Shirley, even though it was now just Laverne. Penny Marshall had to deal with confused fans asking, "Where's Cindy?" She called the whole thing a drag. Cindy's exit from one of the biggest shows on TV came at a huge cost. She walked away from a $1.65 million contract that year, not counting reruns. The lawsuit was eventually settled quietly, but the damage was done. Her future in Hollywood suddenly became uncertain. Rumors swirled. Some said she had made outrageous demands. Others blamed a feud with Penny, but Cindy stayed mostly quiet, focusing on her new role as a mother. When Cindy Williams married Bill Hudson on May 1, 1982, it wasn't just a wedding. It was the start of a messy, emotional roller coaster. Bill had just finalized his divorce from Goldie Hawn, and Cindy stepped straight into a complicated family. Overnight, she became stepmother to 6-year-old Oliver and 3-year-old Kate Hudson. Both kids would grow up to be major Hollywood stars, but at that time, the family was far from picture perfect. Tensions ran deep. Bill's relationship with Oliver and Kate was strained from the start, and it only worsened over time. Things exploded publicly in 2015 when Oliver posted a Father's Day message calling out his dad. Bill fired back, blaming Goldie for turning the kids against him. Meanwhile, Kurt Russell, Goldie's longtime partner, became more of a father figure to Kate and Oliver than Bill ever was. It created 2 separate families that barely spoke. By 2021, Kate admitted she wanted to reconnect with her half-siblings, saying, "Time is short." When Cindy died in January 2023, it left many hoping her passing might somehow help heal the years of family silence. Cindy and Bill's marriage lasted 18 years, ending in 2000. But long before the divorce, Cindy had already faced a life-changing decision. In early 1982, she found out she was pregnant with their daughter, Emily. At the time, Laverne and Shirley was heading into its 8th season, and Cindy was one of TV's biggest stars. She thought she could keep working while pregnant, maybe hide behind furniture on set like actresses often do. But producers demanded she keep filming right up to her due date, a move that today would raise serious legal questions. Cindy refused. She looked at the contract and said, "I can't sign this." Just 2 episodes into the new season, she walked away. That decision cost her the role of Shirley Feeney and sparked a $20 million lawsuit, which later settled quietly. Emily was born later that year, and Cindy stepped back from the spotlight. Her exit became a turning point, not just in her life, but for how Hollywood treated pregnant actresses. Years later, she noted how sets started adding nurseries and offering on-site nannies. She didn't set out to be a pioneer, but she became one. 4 years later, in 1986, Cindy gave birth to her second child, William Zachary Hudson, known as Zachary or Zach. He joined a large and tangled family that now included his sister Emily, plus half-siblings Kate and Oliver. But Cindy made a clear choice. Her kids would not grow up in the glare of celebrity. She gave them a quiet, grounded upbringing far away from flashing cameras. Zachary stayed out of the public eye. One rare exception came in 2000 when he joined Cindy and Emily at her Hollywood Walk of Fame ceremony. He was about 18. Then in 2006, things got even more complicated. Bill Hudson had another child, daughter Lilania, with his girlfriend Caroline Graham. That meant Zachary and Emily now had another half-sibling. Through it all, Cindy stayed focused on protecting her children's privacy. Meanwhile, Kate Hudson publicly expressed in 2021 that she wanted to get closer to her other siblings, including Zachary and Emily. It was clear the wounds left by Bill's fractured relationships hadn't fully healed. But there was at least hope. While Cindy's family life grew, her career had to shift. After leaving Laverne and Shirley, she tried to keep acting, but it wasn't easy. Her first big post-sitcom project was a quirky sci-fi comedy in 1983 called The Creature Wasn't Nice, also known as Naked Space or Spaceship. It had a $2 million budget and starred Leslie Nielsen. Cindy even sang 2 songs in it, but the film flopped, re-edited into multiple versions that never quite landed with audiences. She followed that with UF Aurea, a low-budget sci-fi film she had actually shot back in 1981. In it, she played Arlene, a lonely supermarket worker obsessed with aliens. It co-starred Fred Ward and Harry Dean Stanton, but the film got shelved and didn't release until 1985. It later limped out on VHS in 1987. These roles were a far cry from her primetime sitcom days, and it was clear that Cindy's fame was fading. But instead of fighting it, she leaned into the change. Her focus was on family, not fame. After leaving Laverne and Shirley in 1982, Cindy Williams hoped for a strong comeback. Her first big attempt came in 1990 with a sitcom called Normal Life. It was based on the strange childhood of Frank Zappa's kids, and it even starred his real-life children, Dweezil and Moon Unit. Cindy played the mom, Anne Harlow. The idea sounded interesting, a blended family trying to survive teenage chaos, but it didn't connect with viewers. It aired on CBS from March to July, all 13 episodes, but ratings kept dropping. The directors kept changing. Nothing worked. What was supposed to be Cindy's big return ended up being a fast flop. After that, she made a smart move. Instead of chasing another sitcom, she jumped into television movies. In 1990, alone, she starred in Menu for Murder and a Perry Mason film. Both let her show a different side, heart drama, heart comedy. In 1991, she played a role in Earth Angel, a fantasy TV movie that showed her range again. These weren't blockbuster projects, but they gave her steady work. More importantly, they gave her time. Cindy was raising 2 kids, Emily, born in 1982, and Zachary, born in 1986. TV movies let her act without the pressure of a 9-month sitcom shoot. They weren't glamorous, but they kept her visible in Hollywood, which was exactly what she needed. In 1993, Cindy made another big play for primetime. She starred in Getting By, a sitcom about 2 single moms, one white, one black, raising kids together in Chicago. It was part of ABC's TGIF lineup and started strong with over 21 million viewers. But after the first season, ABC dropped it. NBC picked it up, but the switch didn't help. Ratings fell hard, and by the final episodes, only 5.7 million people were watching. There were also problems behind the scenes as Warner Brothers took over production. By the time it ended in 1994, after just 31 episodes, Getting By became her last lead role in a network sitcom. Her time as a primetime star had quietly faded out. As the 2000s rolled in, Cindy tried something completely different. In 2000, she joined a wild comedy show on Comedy Central called Strip Mall. It was edgy, loud, and full of Hollywood satire. Cindy played a version of herself, a bold move for someone known for family-friendly TV. The show didn't last long, just 6 episodes with her in it, but it made a point. She could laugh at herself. At 53, she was showing the world that she wasn't stuck in the past. She could evolve, and she was willing to take risks most of her peers wouldn't. But fans still wanted a taste of the old magic. In 2002, they got it. ABC aired Laverne and Shirley together again, reuniting the original cast for the first time in nearly 20 years. It drew 17.5 million viewers. The emotional highlight came when Cindy and Penny Marshall hugged on camera, letting go of years of tension. Cindy had left the original show after getting pregnant, which led to a painful split with Penny. But during the reunion, they made peace. There were bloopers, sketches, and tributes to cast members who had passed. It reminded everyone just how loved those characters and those actresses really were. Then, in 2004, Cindy shocked everyone again. She appeared in Law & Order, SVU, playing a grandmother hiding her son-in-law's abuse. The episode was dark, disturbing, and very real. Over 15 million people tuned in. Critics praised Cindy's quiet, haunting performance. She had studied courtrooms and spoken to psychologists just to understand the mindset of someone who would protect a predator. Some said she deserved an Emmy nomination. It was one of the rawest roles of her life and proved that she was still growing as an actress, even 3 decades after becoming famous. From 2006 to 2014, she went back to the stage, lived theater across the United States. She performed 267 times in 42 cities. In 2007, she starred in Nonsense for over a year and won an award for Best Actress in a touring production. In 2009, she played a psychic in Blithe Spirit in Pasadena, performing 96 shows without missing a single one. She also toured with Eddie Mecca, her former co-star, in a romantic comedy called Lunch Hour. At age 64, she said, "Television made me famous, but theater makes me feel alive every night." She wasn't chasing fame anymore. She was chasing joy. In 2015, she wrote it all down. Her memoir, Surely I Just, sold 48,000 copies in its first month and hit number 7 on the Los Angeles Times bestseller list. Inside, she opened up about Hollywood's ugly side. She revealed how studio executives pressured her to film just 6 weeks after giving birth. She also admitted to turning down Airplane and Jaws 2 because of scheduling. The book included details about a short fling with Andy Kaufman and her long battle with depression after her show was canceled. She went on a 15-city book tour, met fans, and even brought the original Schlemmel Schlemazel sweater with her. The memoir wasn't just a career recap. It was her way of setting the record straight. In 2018, at age 71, she returned to film with Still Waiting in the Wings, a small indie movie about struggling performers in New York. The story was close to her heart. Cindy had once waited tables while chasing her dreams, too. This time, she starred alongside legends like Ed Asner and Cheetah Rivera, bringing humor and heart to a younger audience. The movie won 5 awards. Even in her 70s, she was showing up on set, ready to work, and mentoring others who were just starting out. But through all these years, one relationship remained at the center of her story: Penny Marshall. Their friendship had been fractured by pain and pride. Cindy felt abandoned when the studio forced her to quit. Penny felt alone finishing the show without her. They didn't speak for 15 years. Then, in 1997, after Penny's marriage ended, she picked up the phone. They cried, they forgave, and they started over. By 2012, they appeared together on Good Morning America, laughing with their old castmates. Later, they teamed up for a guest role on Sam and Cat, making fun of their past. It wasn't just a reunion, it was healing. In late 2022, something changed for Cindy Williams. Her health started to decline, but she didn't want the world to know. Just like she had done her whole life, she kept her struggles private. She didn't make a big announcement. She didn't want sympathy. Instead, she quietly pulled back from the spotlight. By November, people close to her noticed she was canceling appearances for her one-woman show, Me, Myself, and Shirley. The show had been doing well across the United States, and fans were excited to see her. But behind the scenes, Cindy was facing something serious. Only her kids and a few trusted friends knew how bad it really was. She didn't want the media talking about it. She didn't want her illness to overshadow her work. Even while getting treatment, she was still reading scripts, still thinking about future projects. That was who she was, someone who loved to work and stayed dedicated until the end. Her team protected her privacy. When reporters asked questions, they simply said she was taking time to rest and recover. They kept the focus away from her illness so she could spend her final days where it mattered most, with family. By early January 2023, things took a turn. Her condition got worse, but nothing was said publicly. Cindy didn't want attention. She just wanted peace. On January 25, 2023, Cindy passed away in Los Angeles. She was 75. Her family didn't announce it right away. They waited 5 days. On January 30th, her children, Zach and Emily Hudson, shared the news in a statement through family spokeswoman Liza Cranes. They wrote, "The passing of our kind, hilarious mother, Cindy Williams, has brought us insurmountable sadness that could never truly be expressed. Knowing and loving her has been our joy and privilege. She was one of a kind, beautiful, generous, and possessed a brilliant sense of humor and a glittering spirit that everyone loved." There was something deeply moving about the timing. Cindy died just 5 years after her longtime friend and Laverne and Shirley co-star Penny Marshall. Penny had also passed at 75 back in December 2018 from complications related to diabetes. Their careers had always been connected, and now so were their final chapters.